What up, D-League? Welcome to Week 11. Still a little drunk on anger from watching the 13th man last night, but it's time for us to get our fantasy fix on. Playoff race is still very tight, with two teams playing out of their minds right now. If the cards fall right, we could find ourselves with a new fantasy owner at the top spot, pissing all over Jamie's parade. Let's take a look now at how my picks turned out for last week. Last week, my 3-2 streak comes to an end. My ability to pick last week was poor at best. I wasn't aware that being down 25 points going into a Monday night game with just two people to play is no big deal if you have Vic on your roster. I also wasn't aware that Dan's team refuses to lose, but I was aware that my team will do pretty much the opposite of whatever I pick. So with me going 2-3 last week, that brings my total up to 22-18. Let's take a look now at our rapist of the week.
Well, obviously we have a rapist.
I'll take the rapists for 200.
He's climbing in your windows. He's snatching your people up, trying to rape them. So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband because they raping everybody out here.
Rape is coming. Don't get raped.
Alright, our rapist of the week this week is Colin. Colin loves three things in life: the Vikings, Mike Vick, and rape. Colin dropped 73.62 points on Monday night with just two people right in Nate's face. This was almost more points than the 8 other players on his team combined for. In the words of Jim, Vic is truly, truly, truly outrageous. Let's take a look now at our loser of the week.
Bitch, I'm about to ball this.
IQ of 48 and am what some people call mentally retarded.
He was retarded.
I'm a driver, I'm a winner. Things are gonna change, I can feel it.
Only reason I'm crying is because of the adrenaline.
Our loser of the week this week is Jamie. Jamie was only one of two teams to not break 100 last week. The other was our previous week's loser of the week, James. Jamie rolled over and took it while Dan increased his win streak to 7. Dan is now vying for Jamie's number 1 spot since he already owns what little dignity Jamie had left. Let's take a look now at our trades. Colin and Sean are the only ones to make a trade this week. Colin sending Sean Tammy, Thomas, his number 1 pick in 2011, and also removing the conditional from the second round pick that he receives from Sean in 2011. In return, Colin receives Ryan Matthews from Sean. He also solidifies his second rounder for 2011. He's paying full price on a running back who's had a terrible year and hasn't proved anything yet. He helped address Sean's tight end issues as well as his wide receiver depth issues, and giving him more picks so he can add more depth, which was some of Sean's biggest problems going forward. Colin hasn't quite grasped the concept of depth yet. When I did the review of his last trade, my biggest concerns were how he was going to add depth over the next 3 years. Some of you may remember this slide. As you can see, Colin was already on thin ice. But now, he really has to hit on that 2013 first-round pick. With the addition of the new running back, Colin's now just one wide receiver away from a good starting lineup, but it's going to be 2013 before he can really address any depth issues. If he addresses those depth issues at wide receiver, it could be another 3 years before that wide receiver pans out. Colin's going to have to get real lucky on the waiver wire over the next 3 years in order to give these guys some help. That's providing that all the guys on his roster right now do end up panning out in the long term. That said, if Vic keeps dropping 50 points a game, he doesn't really need any depth. He just needs to pray that Vic doesn't get hurt. Let's take a look now at our matchups. Alright, first up we got Mind Grapes taking on Mavericks. I'm coming in at 4-6. Dan's coming into this at 7-3. With the bye weeks over, I'm getting the full brunt of the Dan train. What's sad is that his matchups are powerhouses such as Carolina, Jacksonville, Detroit, Kansas City. I do have the better quarterback, and one of my running backs might be a little bit better than his. Past that, I'm pretty much toast. Miles Austin and I miss Tony Romo pretty much every day. In every way. This week, McCoy gets to work on his blocking against the Giants, while Michael Vick just keeps the ball every time. Also, have I mentioned how awesome it is to have Dan back in fantasy relevance? On Thursday night, Forte got Dan's train rolling by dropping 16 points, and I expect that Dan's win streak will be heading towards 8 in a row after this week. We may need James to break out the record books to see how close Dan is to breaking the win streak record. If he hasn't broke it already, I got a feeling that he will be soon. Alright, next up we have Team Disenchantment taking on Vic in a Box. James is coming into this at 4-6, Colin's sitting at 6-4. Remember that time that James refused to sit Randy Moss week after week? James, who's known to be stubborn, seems to be content watching his fantasy ship sink without making any effort to patch the holes. This is going to be one of those weeks where Colin gets to sit back and enjoy his new team. Vic vs. 7 Troy Smiths would barely be fair. Vic vs. 7 Troy Smiths would barely be fair. James does get some nice matchups at wide receiver, but Moss is no lock to get any points. Walker's missing having Moss in New England, and Ocho Stinko's playing second fiddle to T.O. on a terrible team. LT's pretty much in the best spot out of everybody, as James does have the better running backs of the group. But Colin will do a good enough job just to keep pace there. As long as Vic at least has a pedestrian day, Colin should take this win. Alright, next up we have KC Reunited taking on Sunday. Sean's coming into this at 4-6, Nate's sitting at 2-8. Welcome to our toilet bowl matchup of the week. What shapes up to be a nice quarterback battle is soured by the fact that there's no other good matchups across the rosters. The wide receivers on both of these teams are pretty much a hot mess. Nate's is led by Pro Bowl candidate Brandon Lloyd. Sean's is led by Old T.O. Sean does take the running back matchup without question, but the rest of the matchups are pretty inconsequential. Sean will end up taking this in the end, but he may be too far outside the playoff race for it to matter. Alright, next up we have Rainbow Warriors taking on Here Comes Treble. Dave's coming into this at 5-5, Trav's sitting at 6-4. Dave's working on a streak of his own with his 3 losses in a row. Unlike Dan's streak, I do feel like this week Dave's streak comes to an end. Dave's quarterback situation is getting pretty bad when he has to regularly start Josh Freeman, who's pretty much outmanned by Breeze. Trav's sporting a lot of red ink on his roster and would need a pretty big day out of his receivers to keep pace here. Knox already didn't do his part by only dropping 6.5 on Thursday night. At tight end, providing Gates plays, which I'm not sure that Trav can wait till Monday night to find out, he's definitely got the advantage at tight end. Special teams are pretty much even, so it's going to come down to the wide receiver play. And in that regard, I think Dave's definitely going to have the advantage and have the ability to break his losing streak. Alright, next up we have Martial Law taking on Seppuku. Jamie's coming into this at 7-3, Adam's sitting at 5-5. Welcome to our marquee matchup of the week. Jamie's been struggling at his spot on top, and Adam's been doing work on pretty much anything that stands in his path. Jamie seems to have angered the fantasy gods as of late, because just like every week, Jamie has the advantage in every statistical category against Adam. But if there's any team right now that can deliver Jamie's 4th loss, it's Adam. Adam's team explodes for high point totals. 4 out of the last 5 weeks, he's scored well over 100 points, 2 of which he's broken 150. If not for Vic's crazy effort on Monday night, Adam would actually be our rapist of the week this week. Matchups aside, I think Adam has the momentum to take Jamie down this week and deliver the upset. I have a feeling come next week we're going to have a new face at the number 1 spot.
Wrap that shit up, B.
Alright kids, well that's going to wrap it up for us this week. Good luck to everybody on their fantasy matchups. And Dan Beebe, if you're watching, fuck you very much.